When I was a child, my father would tell me that praying to God for something I wanted was a sin. He didn't believe in wishes or dreaming. It wasn't a Jewish way of thinking. Drek, he would say, a waste of time. I was born in Russia, but moved to America with my family when I was young. I had a poor upbringing. Life was hard in the ghetto. Being a Jewish immigrant came with its own problems. But I didn't cry for new clothes, better food, a warm house. I cried out for an education. I wanted to get myself out of the situation. However, my parents didn't believe in girls being educated, so they sent me to work. My mother seized all my wages, so I couldn't even buy my own education. Well, this was until I struck up a deal with my boss. If I worked some hours for free down at the factory, his daughter would teach me English. I remember being so nervous that first day.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Айда Резник. Я пришла сюда изучать английский язык.
Добро пожаловать, Айда. Меня зовут Лана. Вы раньше занимались английским языком?
Нет.
Хорошо, не надо волноваться. Я пойду в темпе, в котором вы находите удобно. Хорошо?
Хорошо.
Начнем с основами. Здравствуйте. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Меня зовут. My name is.
My name is.
My parents eventually found out I was lying to them and kicked me out. I ended up moving into an even smaller place down the block. It was horrible, but I actually preferred living without them. This was where I met Maria. Maria was my neighbor, a Puerto Rican immigrant, but spoke very good English.
Hi.
Hi.
What you reading?
It's work from school. I'm learning about rhymes.
What are rhymes?
They are words that sound like other words.
Really? I love words. Will you teach me some?
I'm sorry. I'm very busy. I have 3 small children to look after. My mother is very old and only has them a few hours a week. It's hard to find time to teach myself.
Oh, I see. What if I look after your children for you, for when you go to school? That would give you more time?
Really? Are you sure?
Very. I only live upstairs too.
Okay, that would be great. I will come see you later then.
Great, thank you.
Bye.
Maria taught me so much. It was like a wish come true. We became really good friends. She even saved up so she could take me to the movie theater. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing, so inspiring. But the story frustrated me. It didn't feel real to me. So from that moment on, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I was going to write a motion picture, but one ordinary people could relate to. People thought I was crazy. To them, I was just some Jewish immigrant from the ghetto. But that only pushed me further. I started writing and became obsessed with it. I would write everywhere I went, on anything I could, and read to whoever would listen. I soon got the confidence up to start sending my scripts to people. But I always got the same answer. It's too depressing. Life isn't all dark. These people had clearly never lived in the Lower East Side. I spent years trying. It was hard. And at times I cried. But I kept writing. Even though it was a sin, one night I prayed to God. I dreamed of being in Hollywood. No more ghetto. No more loneliness. I would be somebody in Hollywood. That night, I think he was listening to me, as the very next day I received a telegram from a Mr. John Posey. It said, telephone immediately to discuss a motion picture with Samuel Goldwyn. I couldn't believe it. Samuel Goldwyn, a Hollywood genius, wanted to buy my story, and turn it into a motion picture. My head was in a spin. I made the phone call, and the next thing I knew, I was on a train heading to Los Angeles. I was in such a hurry, I didn't even pack any luggage. Not that I had any. But even after spending 3 days on that train, it still didn't sink in. If only I could prepare myself for what was to follow. John Posey met me at the hotel, but the media caught wind of my Cinderella story. Lucky John made me feel at ease. He was a lovely man, and lucky for me, he was going to be my manager. The next day, a driver picked me up and drove me to the office. John met me there. He had flowers for me. I'd never been given flowers before.
Ida, baby, how you feeling?
It felt wonderful.
You look great. Are you ready for your first day?
I think so.
You'll be fine. Now, your office is through here, but I've got some business to do, so Miss White will be taking care of you.
Miss White?
Yeah. She's a real doll. You'll love her, okay? I'll see you later.
He didn't stay long, though, as he was a very busy man. I just sat in awe of everything. The office, the typewriter, but especially Miss White.
Good morning, Miss Resnick. I'm Miss White, your secretary.
She was so glamorous. She had slick red lips and an outfit I wouldn't even know where to begin with. I was still wearing what I'd traveled in.
A secretary? For me? I thought only men in business had secretaries.
Miss Resnick, if I may, in Hollywood, writing is a business.
I felt like schmutz next to her.
I love your flowers. Who are they from?
Mr. Posey.
Is there anything I can do for you?
I don't know.
Perhaps put your flowers in a vase.
Okay.
Is this how all the women here look, I wondered? A sudden sickly feeling washed over me.
Is there anything else I can do?
I wanted her to leave.
Perhaps if you... maybe... you could go home?
Oh, I do?
She looked hurt. I felt bad.
If you come back tomorrow instead.
Thank you, Miss Resnick. I won't let you down.
I met Mr. Goldwyn that day, and he took me around the set of the movie. It was incredible. To see my name on movie credits made me feel dizzy. He told me production would last a few months, and that I was to concentrate on writing my next big story. My what? My next big story? I hadn't even thought about that. My head was too busy in the clouds. I wasn't used to this kind of pressure, and if I'm honest, it intimidated me. For weeks I sat at my desk and tried so hard to think of stories. I used to write about life as an immigrant. I used to watch people in the tenements with their pushcarts and feel inspired from the raw emotion I saw on everybody's face. But everybody I'd met here was strange, always happy. I didn't understand it. I craved real feelings, real people. I had lost my inspiration. I needed help.
Miss Resnick! William Fox is on the phone, and he wants to know if you're available for lunch.
Of course!
William Fox? I couldn't believe it. I was such a big fan of his work. He was one of the first producers to adapt realism into his story and wrote against those artificial happy endings. I had so much respect for him. I thought if anyone can help me, it would be him. The meeting was not how I expected. When I look back, I think I almost anticipated a therapy session. I grasped the desire that he would pull me from his immobilized state and invigorate me. I longed to be sated. However, it was quite the opposite. The reality of the city hit me hard once again. I felt like a yutz as soon as he said,
Now, let's get down to business. I want movie rights for everything you produce in the next 3 years. First year, I'll give you 10 grand. Second year, 20, and the third year, 50. Sound like we have a deal?
But I cannot guarantee how many stories I produce.
Look, I'm willing to take a gamble.
With all due respect, the problem I have with the contract is that it's a contract.
The last script you worked on was a contract.
Yes, after it was written.
Don't you see that it's a contract for you too? I'm insuring your future. Look, take the contract home and look through it. I'm sure you'll make the right decision.
I didn't know what the right decision was. My mind was so haggard. My inhibitions got the better of me, and I began to accept I wasn't a writer. I still adore writing, but I was no writer. I felt awful inside.
Good morning, Miss White. Miss White!
Good morning, Miss President.
Are you okay?
Yes. No, not really.
What's wrong?
Nothing, I'm fine. I shouldn't have said anything.
Miss White, what shouldn't you have said? Please tell me, Miss White.
It's John.
What about John? Miss White, talk to me.
He said if I say anything, I'll never work in the industry again. And I can't go back home, miss, I can't.
Miss White, please tell me what's happened. I promise I won't say anything.
He's ended it.
Ended what? With his wife?
No, with me. He's ended it with me. His stupid wife found out.
Miss White. I had no idea. But what were you doing with a married man?
Who are you to judge? Just because you've never been the real man. You sit there with your little typewriter. You have no idea how I feel.
And just like that, my only friend was gone. I was a joke, a nobody. I wanted a taste of home, or at least that world outside of here. The whole city felt like a movie set, so I decided to read some fan mail to cheer myself up. I had a lot. It had been sitting there for months. I felt terribly guilty. It made me hurt so deeply to read some of them. The guilt tormented me. Who was I kidding? Living this life? Wasting this time? I may have lived in poverty before, but at least I had my soul in the ghetto. I thought about my time here. How I had wasted money being driven around to places I could have walked to. On parties with people I hated. Clothes I didn't need. If my father could see me now, he would drop down dead on the spot. I was everything I'd hated about America, and becoming this inevitably stopped me being the person who had brought me here in the first place. Hollywood had beaten me. And for the first time in my life, I willfully surrendered. I turned the contract down with Fox and promised myself I would never write again. Well, until now.